Alright everyone, we are here with the first place team captain, Eduardo. Alright, Eduardo, how are you first of all? How do you feel right now?
I'm very fine, thank you. Thank you for asking.
Alright, so tell me your experience in this tournament, about your deck list, everything if you
Yes,
can.
of course. All tournaments start with way before when you start testing, and that's because I knew already I wanted to use Prison, because Prison is my favorite deck in Standard, because it's kind of the one that gets closer to the control-ish grindy aspect that I like the most. Try to manage my opponent's resources and try to deny their plays. And I think this is the best deck for that in current Standard. I think that it owes a lot to this little beauty right here, the Grade 4, that actually allows us to have a finisher that gets better and better as the game goes on. So I started testing and I realized there's like two versions of the Prison deck. Most people play a more aggressive variant of the deck, where they focus more on Turquoise, because it is a grade 2 that gets 15k for having 2 cards in Prison, and it has a passive effect that is free, so you can just slam it down on turn 2 and it keeps getting the work done. However, when I tried that, I think it went a bit against my playstyle, and I started to focus on a more grindy build. And so, if you look here at my deck, you'll see that most of this is standard. You have the Prison, of course, the Ride Line. The grade 1s are pretty much the Gleamers and the Cheval Studs. Then you have these two grade 2 which are mandatory, so because they imprison from hand and top decks are the best imprisoners that you have. The Seraph Bureauite, of course, and then the triggers. And this, because what are the flexible slots and what does distinguish the deck that you use? Basically, is in Prison it's the trigger lineup and these slots right here, these 4 or 5 cards that you have here. Because basically, when you're playing a more aggressive build in Prison, you try to play 8 crits or 7 crits, 4 draws, but you focus more on the crits. And if you are trying to get a bit grindier, these small amount of added shield value can actually make the difference. It made the difference today to make sure that I survived in certain games. The other flexible slots are these 5 right here. As I said, the more aggressive builds either use Agar Rouge or Turquoise, because they hit the field and they keep doing work. But I opted for a more grindy build, and I used this Taser Lodge, was a grade 3, which has a very good passive skill of resting one of your opponent's units that comes from, not from hand, so Prison, Soul, etc. Which is very useful in certain matchups. However, it is a grade 3, so you can just slam it on grade 2 and start attacking. That's why it leans towards the more grindy build. Then I use 2 of these. This is basically a Blitz order that reduces the power of one of your opponent's units until the end of turn. And this is especially good in matchups like Bastion, Bruce, and sometimes even against Nirvana with Desparidea. I think that's the name.
Yeah. The grade 4.
Name. And so these actually is good because you can actually defend 2 attacks for the price of 1 single card, and the soul, of course. So it can be good. Sometimes it can be a bit clunky if you run out of soul, but those situations are rare. And yeah, so these 2 allow me to save a lot of shield by minimizing the amount of attacks that I need to defend, and this allows me to defend 2 attacks for the price of 1 usually. So that's it. I try to grind out my opponent. I think the only thing that I need to mention is what is not here, so the cards that I did not put in the deck, which is Turquoise. I think I already explained that I went for a grindy version. But if you are a more aggressive player, sure, it makes complete sense to just use Turquoise and enact that play style. It's not for me, but it's fine. And the other one is the other order, that imprisons the entire back row for 2 soul blasts. That is mostly used against NPICs in Magnolia, but I think it's just too much of a dead weight in other matchups, and as such, if I need to deal with Magnolia, I just deal with it. I just try to win by either aggression or grindiness, but I don't try to just imprison the whole field. I just look for alternatives. Okay, I work around that because I don't want to put my deck at a disadvantage against all the other decks. And that's why I just prefer to just focus here on defenses for this Wizard Order and this Grade 3. The rest is pretty much the same. I just use 4 Shovel Studs and 4 Wimmers. Some people cut one or the other for extra Grade 2s or other pieces. I think it's fine, just increase the overall consistency. And I think that's it. That's what I wanted to say here about the deck and the whole testing process and why I ended up with this deck.
Alright. Do you have any shoutouts you want to give to someone or
I
people?
like to give a shout out basically to the Porto community, where I come from. We usually play in Arena Porto, and it's really a close-tight community. We really support each other, either for example, providing cards to each other. This was really important for getting the promo. So I got these because I had my guys with me, and they provided these. 2 of them even foil, and I got them for a reasonable price. I think you kind of have to do this if you want to really promote your locals. You need and promote an environment that makes people feel welcome and bring more people. You really need to support each other in this way. Either by, for example, I provided a lot of impixes and pursuit assaults to people, and they provided me with the macro rights, and it was good. So a shout out for them, and yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Basically, in terms of Vanguard, it's them that I owe being here. Having such a fun community is what made me keep going in Vanguard.
Alright. Thank you really much.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.